So now that we've taken a look at that problem, the question saying, construct a frequency distribution table for the following set of scores, include columns for proportion and percentage in your table. What we're going to do is create that frequency table. The first thing for us to do is take a look at the numbers that we have. What's the range? What's the largest score and what's the smallest score? The largest score is a 1. The smallest score is a 9. So we won't need a grouped frequency distribution. What we're going to do, so this is question 2 from chapter 2 of the Gravatar and Walno textbook. To create the frequency distribution, the two basic columns are the X columns, which tells us what scores we have, what categories do we have. And then the next is a frequency column. And then it also says include a column for proportion and percentage, but we'll do that in a moment. We want to go from largest to smallest, and we don't want to skip any values. So when I look at those data values, I see that there's no 8. I still need to include 8 in my frequency distribution table. So I'm going to go from the highest score down . And each of these steps is equal. These are intervals. Each interval is equal. Now I'm going to go through the scores and do a tally. I like doing it that way. If you can just look through and count and be confident that you're not missing any, then go for it. I like to do a tally. I also like to cross out the values as I go. So that I can see, when I'm shifting back and forth, I can see where I was. So the scores are 2, 7, 5, 3, 2, 9, 6, 1, 1, 2. And the next row was 3, 3, 2. 4, 5, 2, 5, 4, 6, 5. And then I'm not going to erase it, but I'm going to write over here that I've got a 1, 0, 1, 2, 4, 2, 3, 5, and 2. When I look at the numbers that were listed, there's 20 scores. And so I can actually do a check. So I know that n equals 20. I can check that I didn't miss or duplicate any of my scores because I also know that n equals the sum of the frequencies. And so if I add up all of these numbers, I should get 20. If I don't, then I've done something wrong. So it's 1 plus 0 plus 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 2 plus 3 plus 5 plus 2. And now the moment of truth. I'm going to put those into my calculator. And sure enough, that is 20. So yes, there still might be mistakes, but we've done the check that we can, okay? And if you wanted, you could erase this. I would recommend writing up the numbers, but you could erase your tallies if you want. Now the next is proportion. And so proportion, what we do to find the proportion, it's equal to the frequency divided by the number of scores that we have. So here, 1 divided by 20 is 0.05. And I can go down, and I see that I also have another one here. 2 divided by 20 is 0.10. 3 divided by 20 should be 0.15. 4 divided by 20 is 0.20. And 5 divided by 20 is 0.25. The last column that this particular question asked us for was the percentage column. And the way we calculate the percentage is that is the proportion multiplied by 100. So we're going to take each value here and multiply it by 100. So 0.05 multiplied by 100 is 5. This is 5%, 0%, 5%, 10%, 20%, 10%, 15%, 25%, and 10%. I should have also mentioned there is a way to double check whether or not you've calculated your proportions correctly, because the sum of the proportions should equal 1.00. And because the percentages are multiplying the proportion by 100, the sum of the percentages should equal 100%. I'm going to double check that now. So to double check this column, I'm going to take all of those values and add them up. So 0.05 plus 0 plus 0.05 plus 0.1 plus 0.2 plus 0.1 plus 0.15 plus 0.25 plus 0.1, and sure enough, it's equal to 1. That's what we found. If you have some rounding in here, so for example, if we had 1 divided by, let's say if we had 19 scores, if we had 1 divided by 19, these proportions would be, let's go with messy. There would be a lot more decimals there. And so you might have rounding. And if you have rounding, you might not be exactly at 1.00. That's just how it goes. If you have rounding error in there, you should be really close, but you might not be right spot on.